Looks like we are live.
Okay.
1 second. Get these banners right.
This is good.
Okay. We are back. This is episode 6 of the Conscious Disruptors podcast. I am one of the co-hosts. I'm the chair of Oklahoma Black Pack, and we have my co-host, homie. Birthday was yesterday. Auntie TT in the building. Turning
What's
the
up,
young
y'all?
age of 25 yesterday.
You can go on and give me 30. I can go for 30.
Oh, okay, we'll give you 30. We'll give you 30. We'll give you 30. I think I'm gonna take my glasses off today because you know when you got glasses, you be on the video.
It's a glare.
Like this.
Exactly.
And that glare. So
exactly.
hold on, I gotta put them back out because I can't see. I tried that for a good second. It didn't work. That didn't work.
Look,
all right.
I can see. I just need to be able to have mine to read.
Okay, so we always start off with sharing something positive that's happened in our this is the last time we have gathered in this here place. So share yours. What good thing happened to you since the last
Let me tell you something.
we came together?
I'm gonna tell you something. Now you've already announced the fact that I had a wonderful birthday on yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed to be here. Check this out. In highly favored. Check this out. The great thing that happened to me, not that I didn't already know this, but to be solidified in my thought process. Please forgive me, people, for moving around. Okay. My friend told me, mind my business and let me do something for you.
Okay.
And if you know me at all, I like to know what's going on. I'm a little bit controlling in areas.
A little bit.
And so I just have to give great ups to my tribe. People actually showed up and loved on me. But this person that told me to mind my business, I really have to give her all the props in the world because it completely solidified for me what I don't just, you don't walk around. I don't walk around with this expectation that people are just have to do something for me or and want to, or am I deserving of even their thoughts, and to be uplifted in such a manner. I have to shout out Miss Brondalyn Coleman because she told me to mind. She told me to mind my business, and like I did it right, but you have to know the context or the dynamic of our relationship. She's like, respectfully, Tanasha, mind your business. But I have to tell you, the point of this, me bringing it up, is that I didn't mind my business. And yeah, right. So she learned a little bit more about me, and I learned a little bit more about her, and I love her, and she loves me still. So yeah, and it wasn't about somebody being wrong or not. It's not one of those kind of situations. It wasn't no glare up, or anything like that. It was just respecting where one person is and accepting love from people. And y'all, I received it, and I just want to say that was the most great thing. And just to add one more, because I can't leave him out. My son stood up. Y'all. I'm so proud of him. That's what I gotta say. That's the good thing that happened to me. My son and Brondalyn did some stuff. So
it looked like you cried looking at the pictures. You cried a little bit.
Listen, I did.
Stripper money gun. You had a stripper money gun too?
Oh, that was my son. I didn't know what was going on either. You had to be there. They said I ran from that thing. I didn't know what was going on.
That's funny. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. It's always great when you're around by people who celebrate you, and sometimes when you're, especially people like us, we're often in the forefront and leading, and people depend on us. Sometimes it's hard to let people celebrate us because we're serving other people in so many different ways. So it's good that you had a chance to be celebrated and appreciated on your day, because yeah, we need more appreciation and gratefulness in the world. We've had an interesting time here in Oklahoma. So my good thing is had a chance to go to New Orleans last week.
Come on, Nola.
To attend the Black Cannabis Conference, which had a fantastic time. No, I did not get high. I didn't smoke no weed.
Go on and answer them questions before they ask. Go ahead.
There was a lot of cannabis at the conference that no one smoked at the conference. Okay. Everybody was responsible, but it was great to hear the information about it. But anyway, had a chance to kind of go around and see the city, support Black-owned businesses, because that's what we do. And stayed at the Black-owned hotel, the Nazi Hotel, which was a beautiful hotel. And then yesterday went to a plantation. And at first, I wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about the experience. I knew it was probably going to be a little emotional. I just didn't know. So I was trying to get my head in a space where it was just I can't pronounce it anyway. So
spell it.
Starts with a D, right? So get there. It's about 30 minutes outside of New Orleans. So I get there. It's in Kenner, Louisiana. I get there, walking on the grounds, and so I picked this thing up off the ground.
Thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's rope.
Oh my. Oh my. You just made me feel some type of way.
So I picked this up. I'm hopefully it was on the ground. So I picked it on the ground. And I kept looking at it before I picked it up. And I was like, and it's like as soon as I touched it, I had this feeling of it was like you hear stuff, like what voices, what it sounded like, or what people talking that probably were enslaved on that plantation. And I put it in my pocket.
An immediate energy.
And it was just an interesting feeling of, I could imagine the horror of being enslaved. But I then also felt this connection of this constant need to be valued and free, right? So I had it in my pocket, in my jacket pocket, and I carried it around, took a ton of pictures. I didn't really talk a lot. And then the tour was great. Informative. But one thing I took away from that tour were, just like we hear, there were Black people, enslaved Africans from different countries and different tribes that communicated in a way that said they wanted to be free. And when they were fighting for their freedom, there were free men of color who were free because by birth, but they still had to buy their freedom, although they were free. And they went to different places sharing their fight for freedom. And they picked up more people along as they went. Now, it lasted for years on that particular plantation. It did something to me and had me really thinking about how we have always been fighting to be free. And imagining what it could have been like. Of course, it's a tour, but yeah, so I've been I'm pretty sure it's definitely impacted my mindset and been a little edgy, whether it's from the plantation or just life stuff. But I look at this matted rope, and it's not rope that was back then, but it was on the plantation, and it just makes me think about we're still getting gunned down. Slavery just looks different. But it also inspired me. They faced death every day. But they fought to be free.
Yeah.
Every day.
How dare we not?
Fought to be free every day. So it inspired me. It made me feel good. Made me feel sad. I wasn't angry, I thought I would be mad. I wasn't angry. I was more likely more inspired by the fact that they faced death, chains, being shipped off, hands cut. There was a story of a man got his hands cut off because he was wanted to be free. His hands cut off,
right.
and his loins removed and rolled in hay and set on fire, head cut off, and took his chopped off head and put it where slaves were as an example of, if you do this, this is what happens, right? But he still wanted to be free. And it definitely made me reevaluate. Not reevaluate. It made me consider what the consequences are to freedom. You lose stuff when you want freedom. It requires you to be selfless when you want to feel free, because we have mental and physical chains, and the ones that are in our head are more detrimental to the ones that are on our ankles and wrists. Anyway, that was my moment from So this rope, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's pretty fragile, but this rope was probably around somebody's neck.
Okay, so I just want to say, anytime you visit something like that, your level of processing goes on for days.
Yep.
And I'm appreciative that those exist, and not because I want to be mad.
Yep.
Because when I visited not the same one that Apollo went to, but a different one, you learn historical data that you don't otherwise receive.
Yeah.
You also understand the levels of intelligence that was going on, that was trapped in these places that folk were benefiting from.
They had different languages, y'all. Look, they spoke different. Some were French, West African, different tribes, different countries. They spoke differently, but they found a way to communicate.
And that's impactful, because we talk about how we, in our own communities, we operate in silos. Yep. We operate in silos because somebody doesn't want to believe the way you believe, not necessarily even that. They don't want to support the vision, the same vision, right, the way that you want to support it. Right. So we break off. And I'm not saying that it's not necessary at times, but if our people can come together and figure out how to work together, create a synergy amongst one another with different languages, right, I think we could make them proud by doing something.
Because the goal was to be free. There was one enslaved free man of color named was Charles Plaquet, I think that's how you say his last name. Skilled. He bought his freedom. He even bought a plantation. And so back then, as she was talking about the history of, she bought a plantation, but he also bought slaves, because back then, you had a workforce. So he bought slaves, but he also hid slaves that were trying to be free. He got fined for it. So it was a better context to understand. But when you mentioned that communication part, it's a lot of ego and pride gets in the way of progress. And
yes.
Just because our approach is different, but you still had the fact that I agree with freedom.
Right.
So if I agree with freedom, if I agree with owning myself, I agree with that, then I'm going to be engaged with that activity, because everybody can be a frontline soldier. Everybody can't be a general. Everybody can't be.
Talk about it.
Everybody can't be that.
Right.
But when people claim they want to lead, when it's time to lead, like, people want to do grown folk stuff until it's time to be a grown folk. And
it's pressing. I said this earlier. It's pressing when you are leading, when you feel like you're in this thing by yourself. Organizing, putting things together, bringing people together takes so much of your energy, particularly when you're spearheading those things alone. So it's amazing when you find people who share in that vision, are like-minded, and they can help you help you with that. You said something.
I'm gonna change it because I feel like it's about to get deep too early. This is something I probably should have said. So, went to brunch Saturday and went to a place called Buku Eats. So of course I had represented.
Buku. What kind of word? That's our word. Somebody actually spelled out Buku.
This is what's funny. So I met 3 people from Tulsa in New Orleans.
We everywhere.
This world is not that big, y'all.
Not at all.
Went to Buku Eats, got some food, amazing food. I'll post the videos when I get done edit them. Sat down, owner comes out. She goes, "Did you go to school at U of H?"
Oh wow.
And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "I was there at the same time you were there." So she owned Buku Wings in Houston, which is on OST, which moved to Richmond. So it was the same owner that I knew, that we were on the yard together, that I knew from Houston. She moved back to New Orleans and had a restaurant there. I was like, man, this world is so small. The world is so small, man. It was cool just to be like, damn, I know that person. I'm going to a restaurant, not expecting to know anybody. And guess what? Know the owner because it was a fellow U of H alum that I knew from almost, oh my God, long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago. So I'm happy though to know that she's still operating, right? Yeah. She made some moves. That makes me happy to know. So that part, I just wanted to say I'm glad she's still operating.
So I listened to your podcast, homie.
You did. You listened to my let me tell you why this is happy. I'm happy because I was interviewed. Yes.
So Tanasha was on a podcast called the Leaders We Need with Joel Harder. It was the what is this? The Oklahoma Capital. What is this?
Capital Culture.
Oklahoma Capital Culture podcast. She was on the podcast. She was talking about all the great things that she does at the Capitol. And I'm gonna give you some takeaway that I learned from listening to you, although we talk all the time.
What you get?
And the takeaway was you said that we help people with, like, people call about their utility bills and stuff like that. I didn't think about it. I didn't think about that. Like, you get phone calls from people who are asking for help more than just, hey, I'm calling about a bill or something I don't like about what's going on in my community, but they're calling because they need help with paying bills. And I think it was something you said to the effect of, you learn from the different electeds you've worked for, but the role that you play is really more of an act of serving the community than it is working in an elected official's office. So I thought that was insightful, but you said it a different way. I was like, man, when you get into this space, whether you're elected or you work in the office or back office, whatever, it really is a career of serving than it is anything else. I thought that was great. It was good. I finished most of it. I got about 9 more minutes to go to finish all of it, but good job.
So glad.
Good podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate you for checking it out. I had a really good time doing it. I was excited because it dropped on my birthday. I didn't know when it was gonna drop. I've been waiting. I actually forgot about it for a little while. But yeah, I was happy because, number one, I told Joel, who is the interviewer, I said, listen, I'm happy that I'm the first staff person that appeared on that particular podcast. Mm-hmm. And he even states that they are always talking to electeds. Sure. We misconstrue what this work is about. And I stated in that podcast that we are electing our neighbors, our friends, So anyway, I was just excited. I hope you all are able to go and check it out because I hope it's informative. My goal is to inspire. I want my fellow coworkers to be inspired, to step outside their norm. This work that we do encapsulates so much. It's like I have papers and stuff on my desk currently. I have emails that are coming into me, but there's so many other things that you can do to make this work so much more interesting. you know, you don't get up on a daily talking about, oh, I gotta go drag up here, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that because it's something new every day. So that's my goal, is to inspire. So I hope you guys are inspired.
I'll tune in. So I'll put the link to the episode. You can listen to it on Spotify on your web browser. I'll check it out. Let us know what you think. Congratulations, always different perspectives and being on these different platforms. And even for business owners, podcasting is a great way it's a conversation to get more exposure about your business, no matter what you're doing. It's a great opportunity to talk about what's happening from a different angle in Oklahoma. So that was great. So we almost halfway into the hour.
Yes.
We've had a lot to talk about in the last 2 weeks at least. So, but first, let's ease into this here thing, right?
You started us off heavy with your good news. I mean,
I'm trying to bring the vibe back a little bit. So I listened to Reverend Dr. Pastor Minister
Senator,
whatever title he got, George Young Sr. talk about the proposals to redistricting that will impact. It seems like it's directly impacting Oklahoma Senate District, Congressional District 5, right?
Yeah.
And he had 2 minutes. Y'all know George can sometimes go long. He is a pastor.
George is the quickest speaker ever.
Yeah, sometimes he can go long. He get on his roll. But he made a point. That the change to these proposals is really it benefits one party over the other. And what I appreciated about his addressing his concerns, he didn't say a name per se of the party. He said it's benefiting one over the other. So it puts it in your mind of that's not fair if it's supposed to be balanced here, right? And Congressional District 5 impacts Northeast Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. Predominantly Black, we know that. So if you could explain that process from your perspective of what's happening with these proposals and changing districts and the impact on voting.
So I am not the expert. Let's put that out there clearly. I learn all the time, but it's, there's rules to everything. And we know that the redistricting process comes after the census. So every 10 years, every state is finding out how many people they've gained, how many people they've lost, and then who shifted, throughout the state.
Yeah.
So with that, you find out whether or not your district has, let's just talk about Senate District 48, House District 97 and 99, my most familiar districts. We know that there was a gain overall in Senate District 48. Mm-hmm. There was not necessarily a gain in House District 97, but they sat, and let me be clear, I'm talking about majority minority districts.
Okay.
And so majority minority does not only mean Black, everybody. It also encompasses other people of color. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so 97, House District 97, I know it sat above 50. I want to say like 53, 54%. Don't quote me on it because I don't know if that's right. But the point is, it's above 50% majority minority. Mm-hmm. House District 99 fell below 50%. I think it sat at 48.
Okay.
Still, am I considered a majority minority district? Okay. My understanding about how you make sure that things are fairly equal is that when you're talking about majority minority districts, people want to keep them at a 50% rating, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And I'll also include in there's a study done by a professor at Brown University who was talking about particularly Black people running in districts that are not majority minority and still winning.
Yeah. Okay.
So I needed to put that out there. At any rate, so in those two districts, there was conversation about raising 99 up to 50%. And
Okay.
so they neighbor one another, right? And
Okay.
so the two legislators talk about, what parts of the district can actually be, what if they want to give some of the district away or not. The legislator does not have to agree to those things, right?
Okay.
Because the majority minority, even if you're at 48, you don't have to be at 50. The point is that you're still majority minority.
Right.
So there's discussion between the legislators as to whether or not, they're going to share some of the district. Overall, when the lines are drawn, the House submits this information, they vote on it, and then they, of course, send it over to the Senate. And that's what we were in our special session for last week. And the legislators, the rule is that you have to be in session, I believe, 5 days or 4 days before a law becomes effective. And so they had to come in, vote on it, and do all that so that we could have our new lines drawn. Well, the lines had been drawn. The work was being done even before they got into session. This is why I tell you all the time, it's not just about the legislators when they're down on the floor. It's more to this work. The people who were working the most was in the redistricting department. The people who worked on redistricting, drawing those lines, getting those maps together. The lawyers, they were really in the trenches over these last months, trying to figure out what needs to be done. The conversation piece for us, when we're talking about Senate District 45, and I have to use the word gerrymander. As much as we know that that's not legal, what can be considered gerrymandering, it looks like it, especially talking about that particular district and the ways in which it was discussed that CD5 needed to be changed. A particular party says we need to move our lines to encompass more of these people over here because they vote for us and less of the other people who don't vote for us. And that's squiggling the line. That's gerrymandering. So I'm giving you from my view, some of this is just right on point, but I just want y'all to be able to understand and be able to go to the sources and ask these questions, how it actually happened for your legislator. You can have that discussion with them as well. But that's what I have to give, Apollo. That's the way that we have it all together. And the Senate voted. Interestingly enough, if you all went and looked at the votes, you just have to know that Senator Young was not okay with any of the line drawing. And so he voted no on everything. But I say interestingly enough, because we know Senator Young is a Democrat. There were Republicans who also voted no. So what we have to understand is that when we talk about party lines and nonpartisanship, that's something that's working over the line. You know what I mean? Right. How do they come together? I don't know why that person voted no. I haven't spoken to him about it. Maybe I should have a conversation. It could be completely two different reasons why these people voted no for these district lines. However, it's interesting enough for you to want to find out. You know what I mean? So, and that's how we work together too.
Well, I find it interesting that, like in the New York Times, I'm looking at a post now. Well, let's back up. So gerrymandering is used to manipulate boundaries that favor a particular party. So both parties, both dominant parties, we're talking Republicans, Democrats, are fighting for these boundaries to ensure they are either going to protect their political power interest in their district, or then someone else is fighting against them to take, right? So it's this back and forth. Gerrymandering is not legal, right? It's not legal. But it technically still is a strategy that people use, which means that, let's say, for example, in areas where it's predominantly African American. So if I'm gonna read what this article said from 2019 from the New York Times. It says the National Republican Party had poured money and expertise into state legislative races with the specific aim of gaining control over redistricting. The Democratic Party had not. So, are we hearing a theme here that the Democratic Party often needs Black and brown people to save itself? The Democratic Party is showing itself historically not willing to invest in candidates who look like us and putting money behind us. I read an article even back in Texas. Texas talked about why is it that you don't see a lot of Black candidates or incumbents running for office. And it also said too, because the state party, the national party hadn't got behind candidates who look like the community so they can win. This is an article from 2019, and it is 2021. 2 years later, the Republican Party put itself in a position to win more seats. And you can't be mad at that, y'all. You cannot be mad at the fact that they invested for a strategy. But it begs the question, however you identify, both are making an action or inaction. And it's starting to seem more often that for whatever reason, the Democratic Party ends up needing Black and brown people to save itself from itself, but won't invest in us. Am I the only one with that observation?
Okay, absolutely not. Absolutely not. To me, the theme also bleeds over into just cultural norms, what we accept for ourselves, the standard that we say we have, but we accept what other people give. And that, I was saying it, I was listening to a podcast on my way this morning, and they were talking about the same very thing. We've got to invest in ourselves. My response to whatever was said was that I'm outdone. I'm tired of these conversations. Because when we stand, and this is as a collective, I'm not even just at this point, I'm always talking about Black people. Y'all know that's the love of my life. But I'm just saying, period. As a group, a collective, when we stand firm in what we know is best for us, believe in that, we'll make some change. And then I have to also I'm just gonna put this out here, and don't nobody come for me real quick. The Republican Party does all these things. They even do things like change their party to run against their own, only to hold the same.
You did something good there. See, you know what? You told me you wanted to talk about something, and I was like, wait a minute, is she about to do? That's a good old transition. See, I see you. That's why you have a good co-host, y'all. Got to get in these transitions so that way we make good time for ourselves. So go and talk about this thing, because we can also talk about the lack of voice from those who decided to jump ship to somebody else's ship. And I'm trying to figure out what the support was for Julius Jones for that person that jumped ship. But go ahead, you talk about your part.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. So they change parties to run against their own, but they still come over in that different party and hold the same ideology. So in essence, they're still working together with the other person, so that other party still wins. And this is why I was saying, don't come for me, because you notice the strategy being used against you. Apollo just talked about 2 years of an article from 2 years ago, but y'all, we've been looking at this stuff for more than 2 years. If we notice the same trend every other year, every time it's time for us to vote for somebody, then it's beyond time for us to go ahead and adapt some of those same strategies, better strategies, and do our thing. That's what I got.
It was only 2 years. It was only 2 years. This was literally an election. This was a term for somebody. Only 2 years. Now, if you think about in the time frame of COVID has technically been, we've been in COVID for 3 years, technically. Started in 2018.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's been 3 years. It's flown by. So in 2 years, and how many months are they in session? 5?
4 in Oklahoma.
4 in Oklahoma. But for 2 years, a particular party has invested to put themselves in position. That's a whole mess within itself. When you invest in yourself or your business to get yourself in position, guess what? You got the advantage.
You completely. And then that also shows you that they believe in their strategy. You know what I mean? Because I talk about time duration all the time. So if you think that stuff takes too long, understand while you're thinking about it and waiting on it, it's not the right time, all these things, somebody else is acting. And the time is still passing. It's still passing.
I'm just saying, I'm to the point, while you sitting there not making a decision, decisions are being made.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads to, you don't have time. Time is not our friend, y'all. Time is not our friend. And you can even parallel that with Julius Jones. Oklahoma was all over the world waiting on Governor Stitt to make a decision. Which, in fact, let's speak fact. This is not my feeling or emotion. In fact, the Pardon Parole Board said twice, he still did not take their recommendation.
Right.
I believe in leaders. When a leader is very clear, you know what they're going to do. He's been very clear. We can't really get mad at that. He's been very clear. Not been ambiguous. He's been very clear.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did not appreciate about it is you had a mama who hadn't been able to touch her son for 22 years. 22 years?
22, yeah.
And then
we can't say that. I thought that they were able to hug before. They weren't? It was always a non-contact?
So just reading from let's just say for 22 years, mama has not had regular contact that would touch her own baby for that long.
Okay.
With all the questions in the case, whatever you believe about the case itself, but the governor waited 4 hours before.
Can we just build that up? Like, look at the picture. The night before, you already, like, this is what tripped me out. The night before, that's like my last come to Jesus. Give me peace. I have no idea what a person would feel like when they know they about to die the next day, right? So you in there and you getting your peace and all of that. And then up until the day, even for the workers, what amount of preparation has everybody been going through to wait all up until the nth hour to say, okay, we're not doing this. And it ain't even, we're not going to do this. We'll do this on the condition that you agree, that you know that you can't ever get out of here. Okay?
So think about what you said about, so the Governor Stitt. So now you have Joy Hoffmeister, who's the current Oklahoma State superintendent, who jumped ship from being a Republican. Now she's a Democrat. So looking at her tweeter, and her tweeter definitely toes the line. So when you hear stuff like comments like this she made on Twitter, when there is compelling evidence casting doubt on one's guilt, and alternative sit-ins should be considered, right? This transcends politics. So sounds like somebody is writing this, but that's just my opinion. Governor Stitt drew out the process to the last moment, causing unnecessary grief and trauma for the Jones and Howell family.
And the Howell family.
You towing the line. I get it. And this is something.
But it is the Howell family. You know, okay, I'm gonna give two parts to this.
Okay.
I believe if they truly did not know how the governor was going to go, then it does still put them at, these people been asking for this dude to die forever, right? Like, if you think you finally gonna get what you feel like is justice, and you're sitting on your hands like, okay, by your fingernails, don't know what's gonna happen, then I'm screaming too. But notice they weren't screaming then. They were screaming, the Howell family, when I say screaming, I mean like coming forward, advocating for this execution. We didn't hear anything from the Howell family, said they didn't have anything to say. That's my second thing. I believe that they were confident and knew that he wasn't going to ever get out of there.
Well, they did make a statement, though. As a family, they did make a statement after the fact that they were pleased that Governor Stitt believed that he was guilty and did not free him. But there was a video that I saw of the joy on their face, which made me feel like you just wanted somebody to die, right? And I was reading in my word, and of course, I got to the scripture about eye for an eye, and we often try to use that as a way to justify the death penalty and executions. But my thing is this: if enough information is coming out that this man may not be guilty, then you should want to make sure that the right man is behind bars.
Right.
So we all could agree the right person needs to be punished for that. But there was this feeling of joy, ironically, Joy Hoffmaster, was going to be potentially executed. Now, what we know we have an issue with in Oklahoma with even the process of administering this lethal drug that's not working.
Right.
I don't believe that any human being, any man or woman should have the ability to have the power to end someone's life. That's still murder too. That's still murder. You are still a murderer, right?
And if you're about life, you're saying you are a life for life, you cannot want somebody to be put to death. That doesn't even match. You've just contradicted yourself. And I go back to justice. Is it justified? I know there's some terrible things we all can imagine that a person can do to somebody and cause them death. But once again, we didn't give life. So how is it that we get to take it? You know, and does it really help you? You said that you saw smiles on their own house family's face. Does it really help you, give you peace if a person dies? It doesn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, and again, I go back to what I said before. If you've never seen somebody die, you should not want somebody to be killed in that way at all, period. But this is my call to action for Oklahoma. It took the world to save his life. The world to save Julius's life. To then see other cases around the country where folks are walking away scot-free. But let's put a pin on the second part of that. My hope is from what we saw, all these people calling, petitioning, walking, all that is required for freedom and justice, for effect, for impact in policy. It took all of that for us to make change. Now that we have the decision that he lives, what are we going to do after that? And this is on me. This is on me too. Because I like to figure out where people are going before I jump anything. It's not every fight is yours.
Right.
But I do want to understand and be a part of the conversation and action. I'm an action guy. Anybody, you're around me, if we ain't talking about action, then get out of my face. I want to understand what we're going to do now. Because we got policies, legislation, we got voting that we need to be moving forward with. And this is a great opportunity for us to then keep that energy going and then educate and so many other things. So I am going to reach out to some people that I know who were very involved that I trust will give good vision and will be a part of how we can have some great collaborative opportunities going forward, because we got elections coming up in 2022. Governor, mayor, county commissioner across the state. And it's important that we got all these things coming up, and it's important for us to keep this energy going to build within the state this energy of civic engagement that we need to change. It showed us that we have the ability to do it. Now we need to get more people in place to carry that forward, because those who are a part of making sure that Julius lived, they worked hard, walked hard. Right. I'm sure they are tired. So we need more people to step forward and do the work. And those folks who were just talking and picture taking and tweeting and, for their own engagement and insights.
Acting like they've been there the whole time. So check this out. To your point about helping. So, we all can do our part. We can't do everything, like Apollo just said. This is my thoughts in keeping with what you were just saying, the charge to keep being engaged. Mm-hmm. I go back to the fact that if people are saying that they're against the death penalty,
yep.
It wasn't just Julius on death row, right? He wasn't the only one scheduled for execution. We did happen to see that unfortunate botched execution of Joe Grant, and then here we are with Julius. That all happened. But next we have Mr. Stouffer, scheduled for December 9th.
Yep.
I want to see people in the Capitol again. How do you listen? I know it's different cases, but I'm talking about a view for life. So, anybody that's on here is talking about, but that's not, the same thing. It's the same thing if you're talking about abolish the death penalty. In this state, I'm mad because I don't know the other states that have abolished this, but other states have abolished the death penalty. The whole United States should not even be behind this anymore. It shouldn't be ever a point where the whole world gets behind a particular individual who is incarcerated and they all say that this man deserves to live. This man doesn't, there's something wrong with his case. He didn't get a good case, all this stuff happens. And then we go quiet after that. Yep. Did we get what we want? If anybody heard Senator Young or saw the Legislative Black Caucus press release, his particular statement for me, it resonates. I don't toe the line. If y'all haven't learned anything about me, I'm gonna tell you my truths. Yep. I am relieved for his mom. I am. And his family, but mostly his mom.
Yeah.
Two things in that for me. I just talked about how, preparation the day before, you think that you're getting ready to die.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get this, I must let you live. I'm going to let you live, but I'm going to maim you. That's the way I felt that it was. Yeah. Could he in that moment, and what would people say? Did he have a decision to make? Yeah. Could he have decided that I'm just done with this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that we need to be in this situation at all. It's trauma for all of us.
Right.
Every one of us that gets on this. So we could relieve ourselves of this trauma if we stood up to Oklahoma leaders, those people who are in positions of power, and said, we are done with this execution stuff. So Mr. Stouffer, he ought to have people galvanized and standing out in front of the governor's office on his behalf too. And the other 4 or 5 individuals who are scheduled to be executed, because we want to abolish the death penalty. I'm not talking about the fact. I'm sorry.
No, because what's is when you get these movements that happen, and we have more people who need more help. That's why organizing is important. That's why having a vision is important. Engaging people constantly is important, because who you elect matters. Who you elect matters because who they appoint matters based on who elected them. When you don't vote,
but look at you, what you just said. Appointed. These Pardon Parole Board members were appointed by this governor, and this governor said, "Bump y'all, I'm not listening." That is that's something within itself that people need to look at. But people like Attorney Brian Stevenson, who has been in this work for umpteen years, clearing people on death row who were found to be innocent. That reason alone, we ought to just be done with this whole situation. And then I have to add my understanding that the same Pardon Parole Board granted clemency, voted for this Mr. Stouffer as well. So, albeit this is like
showing themselves, because what they're showing themselves is they don't believe in how we are fulfilling out the death penalty in the state. They don't believe in it. So that becomes the opportunity to show this board, these members are saying, we don't like what's happening. We agree or not agree on someone's guilt or innocence, whatever that case may be. They don't agree with that part of what's happening in our state. And we act like Oklahoma's that old, y'all. Oklahoma is 114 years old.
That's it.
114, not from the first time someone settled here or came here, but statehood. 114 years old. Mm-hmm. And because of that, it's all fresh and new. We're talking about not having enough longevity we have enough longevity to show that whoever made decisions in early days of statehood, that they're probably 2 generations removed. People living today are probably 2 generations removed. So the mindset is still fresh and still here. So we have to continue to get involved in what's going on, because I'm 42. My mom was, I think, 5 years. No, my mom was 12, middle school age, when Senate Bill 1 was declared unconstitutional.
Look at that.
So,
and the effects generationally, right? As your mom raised you, thought processes, what you heard in your house, belief systems, all of these things follow.
And that's not just for Black people. That's for people who we would call and label
across the board.
Biased, right? That's across the board. So for us to unravel that, we have to have those hard conversations and actions that follow that. And this is not to say that just because someone doesn't look like me, that they are racist and biased, or because someone who does like me is not racist and biased. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the mindset of the impact of legislation in our action, it still exists unconsciously at times, still exists. And so it's important that we do engage. So like we always say, every month there's an opportunity to vote. There's an opportunity to register to vote every month. Even if there's not a county election or a municipal election in your county or city, every month somewhere in Oklahoma, there's a chance to vote. But every month you have an opportunity to register someone to vote. So we should be pushing that message. And regardless of what political parties do or don't do, if the Democratic Party does not decide to invest in campaigns and get more Democrats registered to vote, that's their business. If the Republicans keep doing what they're doing, that's their business. But you, as the individual, have every responsibility to get off your hind parts if you don't like what's going on, to get involved. Transparently, the project that I'm working on right now, the project that's going to be fulfilled, I'm a registered Democrat in Oklahoma. 100% of the people helping me with this, well, not 100%. 92% of the people helping me with this project are Republican. And let me just clear this up before anybody tries it. I ain't dancing.
It's necessary. It's necessary. Clear it up.
I ain't dancing in no room. So just so, because the point is that we have this idea that because someone has a perceived different value system, we can't sit down and have a conversation. Everything's politics. It's what I learned at the Black Cannabis Conference. Wanda James said everything is politics. And if you're a business owner and not in politics, you're not a business owner. If you are in politics and you're not engaged in business, you're not in business and you're not in politics. There is a symbiotic relationship between politics and business.
Can I just be clear? Because we talked about this word politics before. The point is that if you're in business, that you are involved in building policy, changing and improving or impacting or influencing policy, period.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. People, we oftentimes, I've said this before, I wrote it once. Oh, by the way, I need you all to start picking up the Oklahoma City Herald every week. Comes out on Friday, every Friday.
Selfish plug.
Yes. But I did state this, my band director at Millwood, Mr. Scott, he used to tell us about having tunnel vision. So if you are in the marching band, you just need to know that your person on your left and your right or your front and your back, they got their steps together. Y'all need to pay attention to where you're going. We have that tunnel vision as it relates to, and this isn't the best thing for us, as it relates to what working in policy and politics is about. It's so much bigger than that. So we need to get rid of our tunnel vision and be able to see the varying opportunities that lie within how we associate with people who don't look like us, don't talk like us. You think perhaps maybe they don't want to hear what you have to say, but they do. You have to be very confident and reassured within yourself as to why you're going into these certain places. If you're going in there with an attitude, check yourself. Because if you want something, what do we always say? Our grandparents tell us you get more with honey than with vinegar. You got to have it. You got to be that way. but always
at the same time, when people say that, it's like, look, but also you understand bees. Bees don't need honey to pollinate. Anyway, so let me talk about the definition of politics, because politics and policy are not, by definition, the same. Politics is simply activities associated with achieving governance and power.
Thank you.
So everything you do is politics. A date, hanging out, kicking it, politics. Policy would be the part of the activities you did to build some type, I guess, legislation framework that goes to vote, right? So you're always politicking. Right? So people would say you're not in the politics. Well, then if you're not in the politics, then you're technically not involved with any activities to gain power for your business, your family, your community. So then what you doing?
Yeah, everybody's involved in it. That's why the easiest way for me always to tell people is it's a way in which to get to a place that you're trying to be. Bam. And that's the best way to say it. And it's important though. I'm glad that because we've talked about this before. And if one thing I know from this podcast, we want to continue to be good educators in the sense of if people have questions, Apollo and I need to know that, you're questioning what we say, listening to what we say, and imparting some of your wisdom on what we say. We don't come on here and say we just know everything. We're not the expert in everything. But it's important that we continue to engage you. So,
it's a dialogue. This podcast is a dialogue. We, being involved in politics and civic engagement and giving a daggum about our community, we're having an open dialogue, and it's providing a different perspective that someone wants to listen to or don't want to listen to, but being able to have a different perspective or a platform to talk about what's going on in our state is important to us in making decisions, because what we know, there is not a lot of information out there that lets you know about candidates, their history, where to vote, how to vote. There's not a lot out there, and we have to stop saying in Oklahoma. It's not just in Oklahoma. We have to stop saying we don't have. And no, it's not that we don't have it. You didn't create it.
And Apollo loves to say that. And if you hit by it, then that means you got to do something, because he loves to say that. And that means, you creating it doesn't necessarily mean that you got to go out here, build brick and mortar, but perhaps maybe you didn't participate in the politics of getting that created, right? I want to say this. Part of this conversation reminds me that the National Black Caucus of State Legislators will be convening next week. Okay. And to your point about not having a lot of information out there for different candidates, this is even a conversation amongst the Black Caucus, National Black Caucus members. Yeah. And so trying to figure out a different way how we can be together and give each other information. So they are developing a research institute. And that's the thing. It's across the board, what you just said. So it's not just one state. All of us have the same concerns. And eventually, I'm confident it's going to get together. So
love it. So we got 1 minute left. And usually at this time, Auntie TT, she comes on with her moment of the day, so we're gonna let her do her thing to give us some positive to go out on this great Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So you ready?
You know what I'm saying? Come on, give it to me. You got something new, right?
What you talking about?
Oh, you don't have nothing new? Okay.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't know how nobody feel about that whole situation, but that is so funny to me. One day he gonna come up with something new. That's all I'm saying.
We're gonna have a real theme song. We're gonna have a real little theme song. Because we got to raise some money, y'all. Okay, so make sure that you all are donating to Oklahoma Black Pack. You see the ticker symbol down at the bottom going across your screen. It definitely helps us to continue doing the work that we're doing. Much of the work that we're doing is coming out of our own time and resources and putting these things together. But what's more important is that we are letting you all know what's going on. So yeah, you see the ticker symbol, donate. Your support would be kindly appreciated. So Auntie Titi, it's on you now.
All right, I got to preface this, what I'm about to say, with the fact that Apollo named me Auntie Titi. I need for y'all just to pin that, because what I'm about to say is it could be construed as a dig, but it's not. I'm giving the person that I'm utilizing today to give y'all this word is a dear friend of mine, went to high school with her, traveled a little bit with her. She said on today, so one day we need to talk about age. I swear, people think after 40, life is over. You can't change nothing, and your dreams are dust. And I ain't your auntie unless I am. That part has jack to do with why I wanted to use her words, but everything to do with the fact that when age has nothing to do with your ability to change different things amongst Oklahomans across the nation. So we do need to talk about that. You're not too young, you're not too old. Let's keep it going. Register somebody to vote. That's what I got.
There it is, y'all. Look, there's always an opportunity for you to create and impact change, no matter where you are in your family, in your community, in your region, your state, nationwide. Mm-hmm. There's always an opportunity for you to create positive impact from your actions that you take. So we want to thank you for listening to us for episode 6 of the Conscious Disruptors podcast. We are here every 2 weeks. We're going into Thanksgiving, so y'all make sure y'all eat some good food. And I'm going to say this one last time. If it is a sweet potato, I don't care what you do, it'll never be a yam. Okay? Okay?
He means all of that.
You can put marshmallows on it. You can put cream. Look, it's a sweet potato is a sweet potato. I don't care whatever you do to it. It's not a yam. If I see another person say candy yam on my timeline, I'm blocking you and unfriending you. It's not a yam.
Look, and he's serious about that too. I need to say real quick, I didn't give the person's name. Her name is Grace Franklin. I need y'all to know who I'm talking about.
Go ahead, Grace. I see it, Grace. Drop it. So we thank y'all for supporting us and watching us and tuning in. Y'all have a safe holiday, a grace giving. I'll be with my family. I'm pretty sure you'll be with yours. And if you are not able to be with family this time, hopefully you'll be able to find someone to spend some time with. And if you're not able to do that at all, just take some time to yourself and be thankful for all that's happening, because the fact that you are living and breathing today is a blessing within itself. Thank y'all for your supporting us, and we'll see y'all around soon. Make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to us and all that kind of good jazz. And we will see you all in 2 weeks in the month of December.
All right, y'all.